In a secret chamber in the Valley of the Kings lie 3 ancient corpses. One may be none other than Egypt's lost queen, Nefertiti. Could this be one of history's greatest beauties?
That's incredible.
To find out, our expert embarks on a journey through time to uncover the story of a living god whose turbulent reign was a tragic saga of power, love, betrayal, and perhaps even murder.
The Egyptian Book of the Dead speaks of a terrible curse. If a mummy is mutilated, the gods cannot recognize it. It cannot enter the afterlife and is trapped between the world of the living and the world of the dead. A mummy like this has lain forgotten in the Valley of the Kings for 3,000 years. Who is it, and why was it cursed?
In 1912, in the shifting sands of the Egyptian desert, German archaeologists found a relic. A bust of a forgotten queen. This astonishing find is now an icon of beauty the world over. Yet her life remains a mystery.
The name Nefertiti is repeatedly translated as the beautiful one has come. In many ways she sort of set herself up as the perfect royal figure, and there's so much more to this woman than beauty.
Nefertiti is one of the most extraordinary female characters in the history of ancient Egypt. There are a number of important queens, but amongst all of them, Nefertiti really does stand out as something quite special.
It's said Nefertiti's power was unsurpassed. Raised in a harem, she married a pharaoh, bore 6 children, and helped lead a revolution that changed Egypt forever. She and her husband led an exodus from the ancient capital and built a dazzling city in the heart of the desert. For some, she was a religious zealot, a conspirator, a traitor. Others saw a heroine who made the ultimate sacrifice to save her country.
A queen of mystery and a queen of magic, queen of love, queen of jealousy, queen of revenge. Nefertiti is the most important queen in Egypt.
What happened to Nefertiti is one of Egypt's greatest unsolved mysteries. One Egyptologist has spent the last 13 years trying to solve it. In a walled-up chamber deep in a tomb, Dr. Joanne Fletcher thinks she's found the missing queen.
To identify a royal mummy as Nefertiti is a very significant find. Very, very significant and extremely important. And I wish her luck.
Dr. Fletcher's hunt for evidence has taken her from abandoned cities and forgotten temples to the tombs of the pharaohs. Little remains from Nefertiti's time. Drawing on fragmentary texts and unprecedented access to rare images, Dr. Fletcher has painted a new portrait of the legendary queen. And now, with the support of Discovery Quest, Dr. Fletcher mounts the largest scientific expedition in the Valley of the Kings in 25 years.
Yep, good.
Joining her, a team of experts eager to employ the latest technology to uncover the truth about the mummy thought to be Nefertiti. Can modern science reveal the mummy's secrets? Is this severed arm the hallmark of a pharaoh? Why does the mummy have a stab wound in its side?
Lets the story unfold. A style of television beyond today. LCD TV Aquos. Sharp.
With Chris World, everyone can enjoy over 190 entertainment options.
Send a photo of your most enjoyable Australia experience. To win a free holiday to Australia with Singapore Airlines and Sony Cybershots, log on to australia.singaporeair.com. Brought to you by the Australian Tourist Commission and Singapore Airlines.
I want to be the best safari guide in all of Africa. So right now, I'm making sure, besides just photographs, my tour group also takes home a great story.
Power Diesel, perform your best.
Fill her up, man. Just a little bit.
Great inventions start with simple ideas. Great ideas change the way we live. Discovery Channel's Tech Tuesday, exploring the greatest technological developments yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Think outside the box. Tech Tuesday, every week on Discovery Channel.
It's summer in Hollywood. It's when the studios fire their biggest guns. Empires, fragile egos, and hundreds of millions of dollars are all at stake. Judgment Day has arrived.
Hollywood is a very ruthless, competitive jungle, and if you perform well, everybody loves you. But the second you fail, you're spat out like everybody else.
Turning dreams into money. The real tinsel behind the fake. Hollywood, tomorrow night on Ultimate Discovery.
Civilizations, every Monday night. Follow the course of human achievement. From the rise and fall of empires to modern-day trends and pop culture. These are the events and people who altered the course of history and shaped the world we know today. Civilizations. Tomorrow night on Discovery Channel.
Nefertiti was one of ancient Egypt's greatest queens. Said to be a woman of dazzling beauty, she vanished from history 3,000 years ago. Egyptologist Dr. Joanne Fletcher has discovered what she believes to be her mummy. It is her hope that using forensic technology, she can discover what this extraordinary woman really looked like, and further unravel the mystery of her death. But where does the mummy's story begin? Joanne believes the trail begins in the Valley of the Kings. Here, several centuries after Nefertiti's death, her tomb was plundered and her mummy defiled. Every trace of rank and power stripped. Even the wig from her head was torn away. Then, the ultimate sacrilege. Her face smashed, obliterating not just her beauty, but her identity, denying her entrance to the afterlife. A fate worse than death. But they left behind a telltale clue. A clue overlooked by everyone, except Dr. Joanne Fletcher. She's an expert in a rare field, ancient Egyptian hair. Years ago, buried among the treasures of the Cairo Museum, Joanne noticed an ancient wig.
With certain specializations, you do zoom in to quite a close range level. You tend to see things that otherwise tend to get dismissed as trivial. I'm actually drawn to things which other people may have missed.
A wig is like a fingerprint, leading to the time it was made and who it was made for.
What we're actually looking at here is basically the Nubian wig, the Nubian hairstyle, which generally was only worn by royal women between around 1400 and 1300 BC.
Pictorial evidence shows Nefertiti wearing a wig exactly like this one. Could the wig in the museum be hers?
It was one of those little light bulb moments when ding, then you sort of think, no, it's interesting, but no way. And that probably explains why it's taken 13 years to get to this point, because it just seemed so incredible.
In hopes of finding Nefertiti, Joanne has traced down the story behind the wig. In 1898, a Frenchman named Victor Loret began excavating a tomb sealed for thousands of years. Deep underground, he stumbled on a hidden chamber. Inside, 3 anonymous mummies. One seemed mutilated. Beside it, Loret found a wig. If the records are right, the mummy still lies in the Valley of the Kings. A century after Victor Loret, Joanne heads for the tomb. It lies nearly 650 kilometers south of Cairo, in the Valley of the Kings, burial ground of the pharaohs. To get there, Joanne must cross the Nile, whose annual floods gave Egypt the gift of life. Egyptian authorities have granted her rare access to the mummy. For Joanne, the journey is nerve-wracking.
Oh, I've never felt like this in my life. It's almost fear, anticipation, excitement. Tremendous excitement.
She passes the Colossi of Memnon, a landmark Nefertiti herself often passed.
So close, just over those hills, to the Valley of the Kings itself. It's the stuff of action-adventure stories, really.
It's the moment Joanne's been waiting 13 years for. She's about to set eyes on the mummy she believes is Queen Nefertiti. It's 7 a.m., and already the temperature in the Valley of the Kings soars to 49 degrees. For 5 centuries, almost all Egypt's kings were buried here. The valley is honeycombed with tombs.
This is it, Valley of the Kings. It's just so weird. I mean, been coming here for more than 20 years, and today, it feels like no other day I've ever been here at all.
Joanne is entering a tomb called KV35. One of the deepest and most spectacular tombs in the valley, KV35 contains 4 side chambers. One of these contains the lost mummy. The tomb was used by priests to house mummies whose own tombs had been looted. A deep drainage pit on the way in doubled as a deadly trap for tomb robbers. One chamber was walled up. Do the remains of Nefertiti lie inside?
The wall, the burial chamber. Unreal.
It remains sealed, save for a small breach to periodically check the contents within.
So exciting.
Joanne is waiting for Dr. Zahi Hawass, Egypt's leading mummy hunter.
Mummies captured our hearts. They have secret and magic. If you say the word mummy, it turns the eyes of every child and every man, because mummies has magic.
Hi, Dr. Hawass.
Hello.
Dr. Hawass's official sanction is essential, and the tomb can't be opened without his say-so.
Still can't believe this happened.
Time is short, the work agonizingly slow. The temperature passes 38 degrees. The humidity, 90%. An hour later, and the hole becomes a window. 3 mummies lie within.
And here they all are. Unbelievable.
Okay, thank you.
Can you see them?
Yes, all of them.
Aren't they beautiful?
They are. Okay, you want to come in?
Oh, yes, please.
Okay. You're not scared?
Oh no, I love mummies.
You sure?
Especially these three.
But the face is very impressive.
The face is so regal, isn't it? Very proud face.
Though over 3,000 years old, they're in good condition. All three mummies are unwrapped. This is a major problem in identifying them. Their names would have been written on their bandages.
That's a brilliant mummification job. The embalmers did an excellent job on this lady. Really superb.
One is an old woman. Another, a young man. The third, Joanne believes, could be Nefertiti. To guard her theory, Joanne has spent the last 13 years referring to the mummy as Lady X. She hasn't even told Dr. Hawass who she thinks the mummy is.
The three mummies here is still making mystery and is still making people wonder why they were left here. No one could identify them. Some people tried. Then everyone has a theory about them.
Can Joanne find enough evidence to prove her own theory? After inspecting the mummies, Dr. Hawass leaves Joanne to continue her investigation. Joanne has just 2 hours to identify Lady X as Nefertiti.
She's a real enigma. Now I'm here, literally face to face with this woman. It is so reminiscent of a very famous piece of sculpture. I mean, purely from a visual point of view, it is a striking similarity.
The long neck is a clue. So is the band mark around the head. Beneath her high crown, Nefertiti's head was shaved, a precaution against lice, disease, and the Egyptian heat.
It's possible that something rather tight-fitting would have been worn, and because there is no natural hair, because it's been removed, it would have made the wearing of a tight-fitting tall crown, for instance. But certainly this individual had something quite tight worn on the head when she was prepared for her burial, the funeral regalia of royalty.
Another distinct feature appears in some depictions of Nefertiti: double ear piercing. For Joanne, the double ear piercing is compelling evidence. Damage to the mouth reveals another tantalizing clue.
And then in the middle of all this, all these wonderful clues, you have perhaps the most telling thing of all, you have this terrible malicious damage. But after death, someone hated this woman so much, it appears, that they wanted to literally smash her face in with some kind of blunt instrument. It's just quite amazing. It really is quite extraordinary. I'm, well, almost lost for words.
After Nefertiti's death, almost all depictions of her were mutilated. The damage to the face fits the pattern. Smashing the face meant a mummy couldn't speak its name to the gods and enter the afterlife. Why would anyone commit such sacrilege?
It's very difficult to see this purely as an act of tomb robbery because jewellery was never placed around the mouth area. And so to smash this feature in, this very specific feature, it's as if they're trying to make a very strong point.
The other mummies hold the final clues. They could be Nefertiti's in-laws, her husband the pharaoh Akhenaton's brother and mother. For Joanne, finding Lady X entombed with members of Nefertiti's close family is an intriguing clue.
But there's absolutely no mistaking that these are royal mummies, and I firmly believe these are members of Akhenaton's own family, his mother, possibly his elder brother who died young, and his great royal wife, and I believe successor, Nefertiti herself.
Joanne's time is up.
It was totally, totally amazing, and I will never ever feel that feeling again. It was just electric, it was just phenomenal. So I could have died quite happily then, I think.
The mummies are walled up again.
Sad. They've gone. They've gone away again.
Joanne feels her long years of research have finally paid off, yet her quest is far from over. To prove her theory to the world, she must examine the mummy again, this time with the latest technology. But the last team to be granted permission to perform scientific tests on mummies in the Valley of the Kings did so more than a quarter of a century ago. While she waits for permission, Joanne embarks on an archaeological odyssey in search of the hidden story of Nefertiti's life.
Chief executives, they love it when things synchronize. When orders come in, goods go out. When goods go out, components come in. They love distribution they can set their watch by. Because when their supply chain is synchronized, chief executives can spend lunch thinking about growth. UPS Synchronized Commerce.
Shopping. One good reason to go back to Thailand. Fly Thai to Thailand now and win a free ticket back again.
Win roaring holidays to Singapore on Singapore Airlines. Simply log on to www.singaporeroars.com and take part in our online contest today.
Every Tuesday night on Discovery Science, gain valuable insights into the inspirations, implications, and impact behind everyday innovations, inventions, and discoveries. Making sense of science and technology. Discovery Science. Every Tuesday night from 11 on Discovery Channel.
On board the most expensive movie ever made. Why this man had to shut it down.
I've got one of the most expensive movies ever made, and my directors quit.
How an Oscar-winning movie teetered on the brink of total meltdown. And why a late night turned a movie star from the funniest guy on set to the angriest.
What happened? What are you talking about?
Turning dreams into money. The real tinsel behind the fake. Hollywood. Tomorrow night on Ultimate Discovery.
Egyptologist Dr. Joanne Fletcher has inspected the mummy she believes is the legendary Queen Nefertiti.
She's a real enigma.
Joanne waits for permission to scientifically examine the mummy. For now, she picks up the archaeological trail in hopes it leads back to the tomb. Her quest begins on the west bank of the Nile, in the ruins of Malkata. In this once lavish palace, Joanne thinks Nefertiti may have spent her childhood. And here, she finds her first clue.
Oh, wow. That's fantastic. Wow, that's incredible. Look at that. That has been in there almost 3,500 years, as fresh as the day it was painted. And these are the actual colours, the actual wall scenes, the decoration that all the Amarna royals would have seen. Amenhotep III, Akhenaten, Tutankhamun, of course Nefertiti.
At its height, Malkata was the most spectacular palace in ancient Egypt, home of the pharaohs. Joanne thinks Nefertiti grew up in this sprawling compound. 500 consorts and concubines. The vast harem of Amenhotep III, one of Egypt's greatest pharaohs. Perhaps his chief wife, the formidable Queen Tai, plucked from this harem a bride for her son.
She would have no doubt had a lot of influence in her son's choice of wife. And I don't think she'd have just selected anybody. It's quite possible that Nefertiti was sort of hand-picked and sort of groomed for this role.
Nefertiti's bond with Queen Tai might explain why the two mummies were entombed together. The teenage youth between them, thought to be Queen Tai's eldest son, Thutmoses, plays a crucial role in Nefertiti's childhood. Heir to the throne, Thutmoses dies young, a twist of fate that places Akhenaten and Nefertiti next in line to rule Egypt. But from the day they're crowned, tension is growing with the high priests, guardians of Egypt's most important god. Called the Cult of Amun, their power rivals that of the pharaoh himself.
They were the traditional elite. They were conservative, predominantly male, very set in their ways and very, very rich.
Vowing to curb their power, the royal couple take the fight to the heart of the Amun cult's power base, the Temple of Karnak. Built in the ancient capital of Thebes, Karnak was probably the most spectacular temple complex the world has known. The priests' daily rituals of purification help maintain order in the entire universe. An all-important concept the ancient Egyptians called Mat.
Basically, it just meant the right way of doing things, the proper way, truth, justice, freedom, all of these things that we consider positive. The alternative to it was chaos, was fear, danger, death, torture, the heat of the desert. All of these unpleasant things were its antithesis. The whole point of the exercise really in ancient Egypt was to maintain Mat, to maintain the proper order of things.
The very center of this ordered cosmos lies within the temple itself, where, in the midst of a quarter-mile-long corridor, the god Amun was said to dwell, hidden in darkness. Joanne has come to Karnak to uncover evidence of a conflict that would tear Egypt apart. A clash of ideas in which Nefertiti herself would play a leading role. Karnak was built up over generations. By time-honored custom, each pharaoh was expected to dedicate yet more temples to Amun. Akhenaton and his wife broke with tradition and plunged Karnak into chaos. In search of clues, Joanne climbs a secret passage once used by priests. It leads to the top of a pylon, a traditional gate tower.
It's really, really narrow. And then I can hear the noise of bats. This must have been where the priests of Amun came to get to the very top of the temple where they have their observatories and they could chart the stars, the course of the planets and work out when exactly to celebrate the sacred rituals that were so important for the running of the country. Wow. Amazing.
From her vantage, Joanne can see the birthplace of a revolution. In the distance, 4 gigantic temples once stood. Within, the royal couple worshipped the new supreme being, the sun god, the Aten. Appointing themselves the Aten's high priest and priestess, the king and queen vowed to wrest power from the priests of Amun. Within a few years, the monuments they built to the Aten have eclipsed the old temples of Karnak. To the Amun priests, whose gods and rituals are shrouded in darkness, the Aten temples are sacrilege. The Aten temples no longer remain, but an earthquake revealed their building blocks, hidden for thousands of years inside this vast pylon. Searching for clues to Nefertiti's role in the new sun religion, Joanne gets special permission to view the rarely seen blocks.
Wow, this is amazing. Absolutely amazing.
The carvings capture a snapshot of a revolution.
You can see here.
Oh wow, yeah, that's
here,
wonderful.
It's very fantastic images.
This is wonderful. Nefertiti. And again.
Yes, as you see here.
More and more. She's everywhere. Oh, these are fantastic.
Nefertiti's portrayal is unprecedented.
This really just confirmed that she was a woman of tremendous importance to be shown so frequently in this way.
The images confirm Nefertiti played a key role in building the sun temples to the Aten.
That they really are so much more than just pretty pictures, aren't they? And to deface them and to use them as filling, that really does neutralise any force they had. It takes away all their magical, mystical power.
Garbed in his ceremonial wig, the high priest of Amun saw the sun temples as blasphemy and a threat to his power.
Around regnal year 5, Akhenaten's been king for 5 years, and there's a very oblique reference in the text which talks about evil words he heard. There was some kind of plot or conspiracy, perhaps. The priests had had enough.
To thwart the conspiracy, the royal couple makes a radical move. They decide to abandon Thebes, capital of Egypt for hundreds of years.
One new message.
Hey Ted, big spike in sales. Make it work.
Business changes rapidly, which is why HP ProLiant servers with high-performance Intel Xeon processors can be remotely managed from anywhere. So wherever you are, it's like taking your data center with you. Demand more. Demand HP ProLiant servers.
Shopping. One good reason to go back to Thailand. Fly Thai to Thailand now and win a free ticket back again.
I'm dreaming of you. It's all I can do. That look in your eyes. One day you'll be mine.
One day I'm going to marry you.
I'm falling for you. We'll make it come true. Make it come true.
But right now, I got to impress my mother-in-law.
What you want, when you need it.
With Chris World, everyone can enjoy audio-video on demand.
Smile. Send a photo of your most enjoyable Australia experience. To win a free holiday to Australia with Singapore Airlines and Sony Cybershots, log on to australia.singaporeair.com. Brought to you by the Australian Tourist Commission and Singapore Airlines.
Discovery Channel now takes you even further. With more to explore, more user-friendly features, more interactivity. Log on today and get connected. You're bound to be hooked.
The Schwarzenegger blockbuster that went straight to hell. A movie version of the iconic TV series Charlie's Angels. The stars were reportedly at each other's throats, in between clashes with the director.
It's tough when, you have the role of director, but, you're ultimately dealing with people who are infinitely more powerful than you.
Turning dreams into money. The real tinsel behind the fake. Hollywood, tomorrow night on Ultimate Discovery.
Science Frontiers, Tuesday nights on Discovery Channel.
Inspired by a vision of the sun god, the Aten, Akhenaten sets off into the desert. He seeks a place to build a new capital, a haven far from his enemies, and a base for launching a revolution. Joanne is heading to the spot Akhenaten chose. "320 kilometers north of Thebes, it's now called Amarna." Akhenaten had picked one of the most remote and inhospitable regions in all Egypt.
He actually announces that he decided to found the city in this spot because the Aten, his father, led him to it.
The site looks much as it did when Akhenaten found it more than 3,000 years ago. Joanne can even see the distinctive cliffs that Akhenaten interpreted as an omen that he had found the right place. They form the same shape as the hieroglyph for horizon. On certain days of the year, the sun seemed to be reborn between the two mountains. The perfect spot for a city dedicated to the sun. With Nefertiti, Akhenaten began planning a city like no other in Egypt's history. A city designed to venerate the sun, even in the layout of roads and the placement of temples. Thousands of people follow the pharaoh and his wife into the desert. They have little choice. Where the pharaoh is, so is the work. Masons and craftsmen come to build the new city. Converts come to worship the new god. And opportunists come to exploit the new frontier. As Amarna nears completion, the king and queen journey from Thebes to their new home. Within a few years at lightning speed, Amarna is one of the first planned settlements in history. The royal couple arrives to the acclaim of their subjects, soon to number 50,000. As a sign of the new times, they seem to adopt an informality never before displayed by royalty. Freed from tradition, the royal couple is poised to create a new Egypt. The country hovers on the brink of upheaval.
They'd taken away the traditional gods by year 5, and they'd simply replaced the gods with themselves. The only way, effectively, to reach the art and to reach the gods was through the royal family. You had to worship them, and they would in turn pass on your best wishes to the art.
In Amarna's ruins, Joanne looks for clues to Nefertiti's life. ancient art depicts a happy family playing with their daughters. The loving couple, the queen ever at the king's side. The art style itself is more natural than ever before. From Amarna comes the most famous image ever made of Nefertiti. But how realistic was this bust? Joanne is seeking the woman behind the image. In a nobleman's tomb beneath the ruined city, she scrutinizes paintings for clues to Nefertiti's life.
So here I am entering the first chamber of this wonderfully well-carved rock-cut tomb. Some wonderful carvings on here. That's amazing. Really, really amazing. Got two chariot riders here. One on the left, one on the right. And just checking out the hieroglyphs. In fact, this I can actually read. This is the great royal wife. So the figure on the left must be Nefertiti herself. There she is driving her own chariot, independent woman. Very nice scene.
A scene that would have incensed Egypt's old order. A queen competing with the king. Unthinkable. More proof that Nefertiti wielded power behind the throne.
Unlike most queens in ancient Egypt, she played a very significant role in the court, and indeed she and her husband are frequently shown and described as equals.
Some depictions of Nefertiti go even further. She assumes the duties of the pharaoh himself.
She was depicted in a scene smiting an enemy. Only kingship can smite enemies, not queenship at all. This is a requirement of a king.
Dr. Fletcher believes Nefertiti paid a terrible price for her independence. The clues lie in these pictures.
What's this coming right along? Registers of running men. It looks as if they're soldiers almost. They're actually holding a whole array of weapons, axes, spears, shields.
Did the royal art hide unpleasant truths?
And we know that they had a very high military presence there to keep them safe, to keep people in maybe as much as to keep people out. But because the king seems to have been relatively unpopular at home, to say the least, he needed that high military presence. So all this idea of close, warm family unit is really a cynical exercise in manipulating one's own personal and public image.
Amarna was built on dreams and propaganda. But the one enemy the guards couldn't keep out was truth. Reality was about to come crashing in for Nefertiti.
Weeknights, go beyond what you see and explore a different side of the world. From 11 to 1. Mondays, Civilizations. Tuesdays, Discovery Science. Wednesdays, Our Asia. Thursdays, Our Zone. Fridays, Prime Night. Mondays to Fridays, weeknights are made for Discovery. Science Frontiers, Tuesday nights on Discovery Channel.
Om Sangrahena Sukhdukhalakshyanam Mam Prateshithamidam Shuno Prabho Saukhamish Bhauta Samagama Samina Virheva Dukshani Niranyavart Shezar Karane Ketan Rinhe Tapal Honi Niranyavart Sukhayak Amipan Sadras Navishas Laman Kate Boji Daimyon Mitidi Tar
Connecting through culture, celebrating diversity.
There are places where time almost stands still, where old world charm still resides, where folk are as warm as a cozy fireplace, where muffins come piping hot, fresh from the oven, where you and Mother Nature greet and say, "How you doing?" Yes, there are still some places just like home. Great Country Inns. Fridays on Discovery Travel and Adventure.
New experience on television. Exciting family entertainment on Hallmark Channel.
Ultimate music on Soundtrack Channel.
World-class movies on MGM Channel.
5 inspiring channels on Discovery Showcase.
Now Broadband TV, world-class entertainment. Your choice of favorite channels coming soon. Exclusive to Navigator customers. Call 288-0008 to apply.
去歐洲想咁頻撲，節旅帶俾你旅遊真情趣。節旅濃情德國假期帶你遍遊大城小鄉，有小威尼斯之稱嘅班貝格，著名陶瓷香茅出產地科堡，令你重拾童真嘅玩具之城紐倫堡，同埋啤啤熊之鄉，仲帶你去埋德國人都讚靚嘅童話之路同浪漫蒂克之路。想報名仲唔快啲打27350222。
Premieres in September on Animal Planet. Africa's Big Five. There's no mistaking who's the boss in this empire. However, while some prefer to attack in groups, others go it alone. Lost Lakes of the Pacific. It's home to thousands of aquatic parachutes. These versatile dancers show off their gliding skills and sometimes even give their neighbors a free ride. Oman, Jewel of Arabia. Travel to a land of unusual treasures, where creatures have great table manners, and romance is a way of life. The awesome opossum. Play dead to avoid being eaten alive. This marsupial has many tricks to stay in the game. Join this amazing creature as it struggles to survive against the odds. Premieres in September on Animal Planet.
From the sands of Egypt, Dr. Joanne Fletcher resurrects a legend. She believes she's found Nefertiti's mummy, hidden in a sealed chamber in the Valley of the Kings. To restore its identity, Joanne must recreate the lost queen's mysterious life. Amid the ruins of the capital built by Nefertiti and her husband Akhenaton, wall paintings suggest a state of fear.
I've never seen this before, a royal couple surrounded by so many military men.
What really went on during the couple's supposed idyllic reign? Though portrayed as a utopia, Amarna is designed for a darker purpose. Flanked by cliffs on 3 sides and the Nile on the 4th, Amarna is a citadel. From this bastion, the royal couple unleash a revolution. First target, the priests of Amun. To pay for Amarna and settle old scores, Nefertiti and Akhenaten plunder the temples of Karnak. Thousands of priests are thrown out of office. The shockwave reverberates across Egypt.
The traditional heart of each community was the temple. These were now closed down. There was mass unemployment, and yet it just wasn't done to openly criticise the king.
What began as a utopia turns into a reign of terror. The old gods are brutally swept aside by the new cult of the Aten. Having outlawed thousands of years of tradition, Akhenaten and Nefertiti create a crisis of faith in Egypt. Egypt lurches into economic crisis and massive social disorder. With the army suppressing dissent at home, Egypt's borders go unguarded. Tablets found in the sands, addressed to Akhenaten, reveal a country sliding toward catastrophe. Unrepentant, Akhenaten presses on with the transformation of Egypt, no matter the cost.
We can only imagine what Nefertiti must have thought, because she was ever the pragmatist. I don't think Akhenaten would even have noticed or cared. He was such a terrible politician. But Nefertiti, for her, alarm bells must have rung. How can we pull this back? How can we retrieve this situation? It's all starting to fragment.
Nefertiti, though, faces a crisis of her own, a rival threatening her position in the royal household. Nefertiti bore Akhenaten 6 daughters, but a minor wife named Kia gives him what he really wants, a son, the future king, Tutankhamun. Yet Kia's time as the pharaoh's favorite seems short-lived. In year 11 of Akhenaten's reign, she disappears from the records. No one knows why. Some think she fell victim to a jealous Nefertiti.
You've got this idea of this wonderful family unit actually far more devious and dark than was previously imagined.
Nefertiti's ability to manipulate situations to her own advantage seems to be confirmed a year after Kia's disappearance. Her response to the crisis came soon enough. In year 12 of Akhenaten's reign, while Egypt totters on the brink of collapse, an extraordinary event takes place in Amarna. A huge public celebration called a Durbar, perhaps planned by Nefertiti herself to reassure the people that all is well. The sight that greets the guests is unprecedented. Nefertiti sits at her husband's side not as a mere queen, but co-regent, his equal. She is now the most powerful woman on earth. But her moment of triumph is marred by disaster. Amid the tribute for the royal couple is a deadly gift, plague. What the disease was, the records don't say, but it must have spread throughout the city and into the heart of the royal palace, because it seems to have killed one of Nefertiti's beloved daughters. In year 14, Nefertiti herself vanishes from the records. Some Egyptologists believe she died of plague. Others think she lost power to a male rival called Smenkhare, whose name replaced hers in the records. This mysterious figure became Akhenaten's co-regent and succeeded him as Egypt's next pharaoh. Some believe this skeleton in the Cairo Museum is Smenkhare. But many Egyptologists now believe Smenkhare was another name for Nefertiti, a theory Joanne hopes to confirm. Could the legendary queen have lived on and ruled Egypt as the pharaoh Smenkhare? To prove the theory, Joanne must find evidence that the mummy in KV-35 is actually a female pharaoh. After 6 months of waiting, she at last has the chance to prove it. The Egyptian authorities have given her permission to re-enter the tomb. Back in Britain, one of the world's leading human remains specialists, Professor Don Brothwell, gathers a team of experts. One of the first scientists to examine the famous Iceman, Brothwell has also investigated mass graves in Kosovo. His team is testing a portable digital X-ray on a mummified body. The most advanced of its kind in the world, it provides instantaneous images that will be absolutely invaluable whilst working in an Egyptian tomb. The digital X-rays will also form the basis of a unique experiment undertaken by a team of leading facial reconstruction experts. They will use the latest in forensic graphics to recreate the face of Lady X. It takes 22 porters to carry the delicate equipment down into tomb KV-35. Once again, the wall comes down. For Joanne, it's nerve-wracking. Will the tests help prove the mummy is Nefertiti, or prove her wrong? Joanne knows she'll have to overcome long-established views held by other experts.
I think we have several problems with the available data. The difficulty even of determining conclusively that this is the mummy of a female is a problem.
She looks like a young lady in the age of 15.
Could the mummy be the wrong age and sex? It's a question for the scientists. To prevent bias, they are operating blind, unaware of Joanne's theory about the mummy's identity.
Wow, so yeah, I can see them there. Who wants to come and have a look? Absolutely fantastic.
Oh yes, but the bodies are in very good preservation. In very good condition too, I see. Dusty, but nevertheless.
Carefully, the team begins unpacking their precious equipment. Forbidden to perform invasive DNA tests, they rely on the latest X-ray technology.
We're aiming at 55 and 12.
The digital imaging equipment will yield X-rays in seconds. A specially designed rig has been built for the examination. It's tense work. One tiny slip could shatter the brittle mummies.
To see whether, in fact, if it's straining anything, of course.
Carefully, radiographer Andrea Bates begins the digital scans.
1.6. It's very new technology. This is using electronics to get a digital image, same way as digital cameras can get an instant picture. It goes straight into the computer and it can be post-processed, it can be moved around much more easily, and it's much more flexible for the viewer than conventional X-ray film.
In the heat and humidity, the equipment seems to be holding up.
X-rays.
Yes, that's perfect.
Yeah,
fine.
The X-rays quickly answer one question: the mummy's gender. It's female.
In terms of its skeletal morphology, it's fairly gracile, and I think without any doubt it's female.
Happy, Doctor?
Moving on to the chest, the team gets their first tantalizing clues to the mummy's identity.
Okay.
That's a good image.
What emerges is full of promise.
Abdominal area, there's the top of the pelvis, look, and the lumbar vertebrae, the lower part of the ribs. Lots of packing, as you see, and look there. Now that's not normal packing.
No, that's
clearly
not.
metallic, isn't it?
It is. That looks like...
It's cute.
That looks like a jewellery element, doesn't it? Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The tiny shapes are beads left behind when tomb robbers ripped jewelry from Lady X's neck. At once, Joanne recognizes their significance.
Can we zoom in on that again? Because that looks like a little amulet, an ancient Egyptian amulet that they used in jewellery, a sort of a Nefer shape. And these things would be worn in profusion all around the neck.
Nefertiti shares her name with distinctively shaped beads called Nefer beads, known to have been worn by a Marnan royalty.
It's almost a centimetre long. So we've got a royal mummy, quite possibly, almost, well, definitely, with this profusion of sort of little jewellery elements in amongst the wrappings and in amongst the mummification materials. So this is a really, really high status individual.
The team has discovered a vital clue to the mummy's identity.